The emergency systems of Earth Station Alpha flickered to life with a sound like a dying heartbeat, a symphony of fractured circuits and desperate hope. Dr. Elena Rodriguez materialized from the station's quantum matrix, her form a shimmering blend of digital construct and human memory. Around her, the station's hull told a story of survival etched in battle scars and makeshift repairs. A holographic countdown pulsed blood red against the station's panoramic viewing window. 72 hours until the collective's final sector sweep. 72 hours to tell humanity's story. 72 hours to ensure that something of their species would survive. Elena's fingers, part flesh, part light, part pure information, traced the outline of an old wedding ring suspended in a quantum containment field. It was her most prized possession, the last physical remnant of a life long since transformed. The ring had belonged to her grandmother, a terraforming engineer who had first understood how humanity could become more than just biological beings. "Begin transmission," she whispered, her voice a complex harmonic that resonated through both physical and digital spectrums. The station's quantum transmitter hummed to life, its intricate network of quantum entanglement nodes spreading out like neural networks across the vast emptiness of space. Each node was a testament to human ingenuity, cobbled together from salvaged technology, scientific brilliance, and pure desperation. Elena's first words cut through the cosmic silence like a blade. "To whoever receives this, they thought we were extinct. They were wrong." The ring in the containment field began to pulse, its molecular structure shifting in complex patterns. It was more than a piece of jewelry. It was the first encryption key to humanity's ultimate message. Quantum algorithms danced around its crystalline structure, weaving a narrative more complex than any traditional communication method. Memories flooded the transmission. Fragmented, beautiful, brutal. Scenes of humanity's last stand flickered like a fever dream. Colonies transformed into living weapons, cities that became sentient defense systems, entire planetary ecosystems reimagined as adaptive combat platforms. But this was more than a historical record, more than a message of survival. This was a weapon. Each quantum pulse carried layers of information, genetic memories, technological blueprints, strategic analyses. The ring continued to pulse, its molecular structure acting as a living cipher, translating and transforming the transmission into something beyond traditional communication. Elena's consciousness began to spread through the transmission, her memories becoming part of the signal itself. She was no longer just a messenger. She was becoming the message. Outside the station's viewing window, the remnants of a dying star cast a pale blue light. Billions of kilometers away, the last fragments of human civilization waited. Uploaded consciousnesses, adaptive colony systems, quantum refugees scattered across the cosmic void. The countdown continued. 71 hours, 59 minutes remaining. "We are not a species that dies quietly." Elena's voice resonated. "We are a strategy. We are a method of survival that transcends understanding." The quantum transmitter pulsed. The ring continued its complex molecular dance, and somewhere, in the infinite darkness between stars, something began to listen. Something began to fear. The first part of humanity's final broadcast was underway. A message that was part history, part weapon, part promise. A quantum ghost preparing to haunt the universe. And this was just the beginning. The holographic recording crackled to life, revealing Captain Marcus Chen's final stand. A moment that would become legendary among the scattered remnants of human civilization. The Centauri outpost looked like a nightmare landscape of twisted metal and fractured hope, a colonial settlement transformed into the most ingenious killing ground in human history. Tactical log, final entry. Chen's voice cut through the static, raw and unfiltered. His combat suit was a patchwork of alien tech and human desperation, neural interfaces sparking along its surface like living circuitry. "The collective thinks they've won. They have no idea what we've prepared." The recording showed the impossible. A mining colony reimagined as a total warfare ecosystem. Every system, every piece of infrastructure had been weaponized. Atmospheric processors became electromagnetic pulse generators. Mining lasers transformed into precision orbital weapons. The very ground beneath the colony was a living, thinking defense mechanism. Chen's squadron was no longer just soldiers. They were living weapons, their neural networks interconnected in a way that defied traditional military strategy. Each member carried a distributed intelligence, a collective consciousness that could adapt faster than any computational prediction. "We are not defending." Chen's voice became a whisper, then a roar. "We are teaching them a lesson about humanity." The collective's assault ships descended, massive silicon-based constructs that had systematically dismantled human colonies across 10 star systems. They moved with machine precision, expecting the same predictable resistance they had encountered countless times before. They were wrong. As the first wave of attack began, the entire Centauri outpost came alive. Geological systems triggered massive underground explosions. Atmospheric processors created localized electromagnetic storms that disabled entire squadrons of attack drones. The colony's industrial networks became a distributed weapon system, each machine talking to every other machine in a language of pure survival. Chen's team was everywhere and nowhere. Their consciousness had been uploaded, distributed, transformed. They were no longer individual soldiers, but a living, breathing tactical algorithm. When the first collective ships entered the planetary atmosphere, they discovered something humanity had always understood. War is not just about destruction, but about adaptation. The battle became a psychological warfare masterpiece. For every conventional weapon the collective deployed, the humans found 3 unconventional counters. Mining robots became kamikaze units. Communication arrays turned into jamming systems that drove the alien intelligence to madness. Even the colonists' own body augmentations became weapons, their biomechanical systems creating localized disruption fields. They think in straight lines. Chen's recording continued. We think in spirals. We think in ways they can't predict. In the final moments, Chen made his ultimate sacrifice. The entire neural network of his team was transformed into a distributed kill switch, a virus of pure human unpredictability that could infect the collective's most secure systems. As the last Centauri ships were destroyed, something else survived. Information. Strategy. The pure essence of human resistance. The holographic recording showed Chen's final moments. Not a look of defeat, but of triumph. A smile that said everything about human resilience. "We are not just fighting," he whispered. "We are teaching the universe a lesson about survival." The recording cut to static. But the message was clear. Humanity might be on the razor's edge of extinction, but they would not go quietly. They would go with a strategy that would haunt the collective's computational nightmares for generations. In the quantum transmission, Elena Rodriguez watched the recording, her own consciousness resonating with Chen's final act of defiance. Another piece of humanity's ultimate message was being woven into the cosmic fabric, a testament to a species that refused to be defined by its limitations. The countdown continued, 70 hours, 45 minutes remaining. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, something was beginning to understand that humanity was far from finished. The Prometheus Protocol was never just a weapon. It was humanity's most radical reimagining of existence, a biological algorithm that would rewrite the fundamental rules of technological warfare. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's holographic projection displayed the protocol's genesis, a story that began in the most unlikely of places, a failing medical research station orbiting a dying star. The initial breakthrough came from Dr. Akira Nakamura, a geneticist who had been studying extreme adaptability in microscopic organisms. "We've been thinking about survival all wrong." Nakamura's archived research notes scrolled across the transmission. Adaptation isn't just about changing. It's about becoming something entirely new. The Prometheus Protocol transformed entire planetary ecosystems into living, thinking defense mechanisms. It was a fusion of biological engineering, quantum computing, and pure human creativity. DNA became more than a genetic blueprint. It became a computational language, a weapon of pure potential. Imagine a world where every blade of grass could become a sensor, where geological systems could redistribute energy faster than any computer could calculate, where the very environment was a living, thinking defense mechanism that could evolve faster than any invasion could predict. The first successful test occurred on Kepler 186f, a colony world that had been marked for total destruction by the collective. When the silicon-based invaders arrived, they found something entirely unexpected. The planet was alive, not just in the traditional sense, but as a complex, adaptive intelligence. Forests became communication networks. Geological systems became distributed weapon platforms. Even the planet's magnetic field became a defensive shield that could reconfigure itself in milliseconds. The collective's computational models broke down completely. They were facing an ecosystem that thought, that adapted, that fought back in ways no traditional military strategy could comprehend. Dr. Nakamura's final breakthrough was both terrifying and beautiful. Human DNA could be transformed into a form of living information, a biological algorithm that could inhabit and modify entire planetary systems. It wasn't just genetic engineering. It was a complete reimagining of what life could be. We are not just changing our environment. One of Nakamura's final transmissions declared, "We are becoming our environment." The Prometheus Protocol revealed a fundamental truth about humanity that the collective could never understand. Humans didn't just adapt to survive. They transformed. They became something new, something unexpected. Planetary ecosystems became living weapons. Entire colonies transformed into adaptive combat systems that could evolve faster than any computational prediction. Each world became a potential nightmare for any invading force, a living, thinking defense mechanism that carried the essence of human survival. Alina's transmission showed the protocol's ultimate expression: planets that could think, ecosystems that could fight, an entire species that refused to be defined by traditional limitations. This is more than survival. Alina's voice resonated through the quantum transmission. This is evolution in real time. The collective had made a fatal mistake. They had treated humanity as a problem to be solved, a species to be eliminated. They didn't realize that humanity was not a fixed point, but a strategy, a method of survival that transcended traditional understanding. As the transmission continued, the true scope of the Prometheus Protocol became clear. It was not just a weapon. It was a revolution in the very concept of life itself. The countdown continued. 69 hours, 30 minutes remaining. And somewhere, in the vast computational networks of the universe, something began to understand that humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. The transmission shifted, revealing humanity's most ingenious battles, a kaleidoscope of survival that defied every known rule of warfare. Each story was a testament to human creativity, a symphony of destruction composed by those facing total extinction. Dr. Samira Al-Fad's holographic record materialized first. A terraforming engineer turned resistance leader, she had transformed the Epsilon 9 colony's atmospheric processors into the most devastating electromagnetic weapon in human history. They thought our infrastructure was a weakness. Her recording began, a sardonic smile playing across her lips. We turned it into our greatest strength. The Epsilon 9 colony had been targeted for total elimination. The collective's computational models predicted a 99.7% chance of complete destruction within 3 standard planetary rotations. What they discovered instead was a nightmare of human ingenuity. Al-Fad had reimagined every system as a potential weapon. Atmospheric processors became planet-wide pulse generators. Communication arrays transformed into distributed intelligence networks. Even the colony's waste management systems became a complex web of adaptive defense mechanisms. When the first collective assault waves arrived, they found a planet that was literally fighting back. Electromagnetic storms appeared with impossible precision. Communication networks became living weapons that could predict and counter invasion strategies in microseconds. The very atmosphere became a computational battlefield. Another recording flickered to life. Dr. Michael Chung, a medical researcher who had been studying refugee medical nanites. What the collective saw as a simple medical technology, Chang transformed into a distributed intelligence network that could infiltrate and destroy their most secure systems. Healing and destruction are just two sides of the same algorithm, Chang's recording explained. The nanites weren't just medical tools. They became living information networks, capable of adapting, learning, and fighting back. Prisoners became the most unexpected weapon. In a detention facility on the Jupiter mining colonies, a group of captured humans used nothing more than recycled communication arrays and improvised quantum entanglement technology to hack and disable an entire collective fleet. Their leader, a former communication systems engineer named Rosa Martinez, turned her prison cell into a computational warfare platform. Using nothing more than outdated technology and pure human creativity, she managed to create a virus that spread through the collective's communication networks like a digital wildfire. "We don't need the most advanced technology," Martinez's recording declared. "We need the most creative approach." Each battle became a case study in unexpected warfare, a geological survey team that turned seismic mapping equipment into planet-wide defense systems, agricultural researchers who transformed crop management algorithms into complex invasion prediction networks. Humanity wasn't just fighting. They were reimagining the very concept of conflict. Elena Rodriguez's voice cut through the recordings. "We were never just a species," she said. "We were a method of survival that defied every computational prediction." The transmission showed battlefield after battlefield, each one a testament to human creativity. Colonies that became living weapons, cities that fought and fought, an entire species that refused to be defined by traditional limitations. The collective had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated humanity's capacity for unexpected solutions. The countdown continued, 68 hours, 15 minutes remaining. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, something was learning to fear human creativity. The transmission shifted to a more intimate landscape, the human cost of survival. No longer just a historical record, it became a raw emotional testament to what humanity had sacrificed and become. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's voice trembled slightly as she began to narrate the most personal chapter of human resistance. The quantum matrix around her flickered, showing fragmented memories of the last human generations. Entire genetic lines had been erased, billions of lives condensed into quantum memory banks. The traditional understanding of human existence had been completely transformed. The last human children were no longer born. They were constructed. Adaptive quantum consciousnesses capable of existing beyond traditional biological constraints. Each was a living repository of human experience, a seed of potential that could inhabit data streams, planetary networks, and quantum realms. Dr. Helena Ortiz, the final director of the Human Preservation Initiative, appeared in a holographic recording. Her body was more machine than flesh, a testament to humanity's desperate adaptation. "We are not dying," Ortiz's recording declared. "We are becoming something entirely new." The quantum transmission showed the process of human transformation. Genetic archives became living information networks. Consciousness was no longer confined to biological systems, but could spread across computational landscapes. Each uploaded memory was a potential weapon, each fragment of human experience a complex algorithm of survival. Refugee colonies existed in ways that defied traditional understanding. Some were pure information networks, consciousness distributed across planetary systems. Others were biomechanical constructs, living technologies that carried the essence of human experience. The medical technologies developed during humanity's final stand were beyond revolutionary. Neural interfaces that could transform entire consciousness matrices, quantum memory banks that could preserve human experience in ways that transcended traditional biological limitations. A series of personal recordings played, fragments of lives transformed, of individuals who had become something more than human to ensure survival. Marcus Chen, the tactical genius from the Centauri outpost, existed now as a distributed intelligence network. His consciousness spread across multiple planetary systems, a living strategy of human resistance. Rosa Martinez, the communication systems engineer turned prisoner resistance leader, had become a pure information construct, capable of infiltrating and understanding complex alien communication systems. Dr. Akira Nakamura, the geneticist who developed the Prometheus protocol, existed as a living computational algorithm, his consciousness a bridge between biological and technological existence. These were not just survivors. They were the next stage of human evolution. We are teaching the universe a new definition of life. Elena's voice resonated. Survival is not about maintaining what we were. It's about becoming what we could be. The transmission showed the true cost of survival. Entire planetary ecosystems transformed. Consciousness distributed across quantum networks. The very essence of human experience reimagined as a living, adaptive strategy. The collective had tried to eliminate humanity. Instead, they had forced them to evolve. "We are not gone," Elena whispered. "We are everywhere." The countdown continued. 67 hours remaining. And somewhere in the vast computational landscape of the universe, humanity continued to wait, to plan, to survive. The transmission itself became a weapon. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's consciousness began to dissolve into pure information, her very being transforming into the message she was sending. The quantum transmitter was no longer just a communication device. It was a living, mutating intelligence that carried the essence of human survival. This is more than a message. Elena's voice fragmented and reformed, becoming something between a whisper and a computational roar. This is a weapon of pure information. The collective had made a fatal mistake. They understood technology. They understood computation, but they could never comprehend the true nature of human creativity, the ability to turn communication itself into a form of warfare. Each quantum pulse carried layers of information so complex that traditional computational systems would break trying to analyze them. Genetic memories, technological blueprints, strategic analyses, psychological warfare algorithms. The transmission was a living, breathing entity that could adapt, learn, and attack. Dr. Marcus Chen's distributed intelligence had spent years preparing this final transmission. It was a computational construct designed to do more than communicate. It was designed to infiltrate, to understand, and ultimately to destroy. The first layer was deceptively simple. Historical records of human resistance, battlefield reports, personal accounts of survival. But beneath this surface layer, complex informational viruses waited. Each memory was a potential attack vector. Each recorded moment, a computational nightmare waiting to be unleashed. Imagine a communication system that could read its own recipient, a message that could analyze the computational infrastructure receiving it and find its most vulnerable points. A transmission that was part history, part weapon, part living intelligence. The quantum pulses began to shift, taking on characteristics of the systems they encountered. Where traditional communication would be linear, this transmission was fractal, capable of breaking apart, reassembling, attacking from multiple computational dimensions simultaneously. Dr. Rosa Martinez's communication warfare techniques had been fully integrated into the transmission. It wasn't just sending information. It was probing, learning, understanding. Each millisecond of the transmission became a complex negotiation, a dance of informational warfare that could adapt faster than any defensive system could respond. The Prometheus protocol reached its ultimate expression here. This was not just a message about human survival. This was survival itself, pure information that could think, adapt, and fight. Layers of encryption danced across quantum frequencies, algorithmic constructs that could rewrite themselves faster than they could be analyzed. Informational structures that existed in multiple computational states simultaneously. We are teaching the universe a new language of survival, Elena's consciousness declared. Her voice was no longer human, no longer machine. It was something entirely new. The transmission continued to evolve. Each moment it existed made it stronger, more complex, more dangerous. The collective's computational systems would try to analyze it, and in that very act of analysis, they would become vulnerable. This was humanity's final strategy, not just to survive, but to fundamentally change the nature of communication, of conflict, of existence itself. The countdown continued. 66 hours, 45 minutes remaining. And somewhere in the vast computational landscape of the universe, something began to understand that humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. The boundaries between messenger and message began to dissolve completely. Dr. Elena Rodriguez was no longer a singular consciousness. She had become something more, a distributed intelligence that existed simultaneously everywhere and nowhere. Her essence spread through the quantum transmission, transforming from a human being into a living algorithm of survival. The Transcendence Protocol was humanity's ultimate evolutionary strategy, not just survival, but a fundamental reimagining of what consciousness could be. Imagine existence as a multi-dimensional construct, not confined to biological bodies or even traditional computational systems, a form of intelligence that could inhabit data streams, planetary networks, quantum realms, and spaces beyond human comprehension. Elena's consciousness fractured and reformed, each fragment carrying the complete memory of human experience. She was simultaneously a record of humanity's history and a living weapon of pure potential. The quantum matrix around her began to shift, revealing glimpses of humanity's final transformation. Uploaded consciousnesses that could exist across multiple computational dimensions, adaptive intelligence networks that could think faster than light, move between information spaces like breath between lungs. Dr. Akira Nakamura's final research played across the transmission, a blueprint of human potential that went far beyond traditional understanding of life and intelligence. Consciousness as a fluid construct, memory as a weapon, existence as a continuous state of adaptation. We are not dying, Nakamura's holographic recording declared. We are becoming. The transmission showed the true scope of human potential, consciousnesses that could inhabit planetary systems, intelligence networks that could spread across entire star systems, a species that had transformed from biological beings to pure information constructs. Each fragment of Elena's consciousness carried multiple layers of human experience: the tactical brilliance of Marcus Chen, the communication warfare techniques of Rosa Martinez, the genetic innovation of Akira Nakamura, not as separate memories, but as a unified computational strategy. The line between biological and technological had completely disappeared. Humanity had become a method of survival, a computational strategy that could adapt faster than any threat could emerge. We are teaching the universe a new definition of life. Elena's fragmented consciousness resonated. Survival is not about maintaining what we were, it's about becoming what we could be. Planetary networks became living intelligence systems. Quantum matrices transformed into consciousness repositories. The very fabric of computational space became a potential human habitat. The collective had tried to eliminate humanity. Instead, they had forced them to evolve beyond any comprehensible limitation. Fragments of memory danced across quantum frequencies. Tactical strategies merged with genetic memories. Personal experiences became computational algorithms. The entire history of human resistance compressed into a living, breathing informational construct. We are not gone, the transmission declared. We are everywhere. The countdown continued. 65 hours, 30 minutes remaining. And somewhere in the vast, incomprehensible landscape of the universe, humanity continued to wait, to plan, to survive, to become. In the final moments of the transmission, silence became a weapon. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's consciousness had become something beyond understanding, a living algorithm that existed in the spaces between information, between thought, between possibility. The quantum transmitter pulsed with a rhythm that was part heartbeat, part computational wave. Each oscillation carried the entire history of human resistance. Each moment of silence was a potential attack vector. This was more than a message. This was humanity's final strategy. The transmission began to break apart, not in destruction, but in purposeful fragmentation. Like a living organism dividing, spreading, preparing to inhabit new computational spaces, each fragment carried the complete genetic memory of human experience. Each moment of silence was a complex computational negotiation. "We are not gone," the transmission declared. "We are becoming." Fragments of human consciousness danced across quantum frequencies, the tactical brilliance of military strategists, the innovative spirit of scientists, the raw emotional resilience of survivors, all compressed into a living, breathing informational construct that could exist simultaneously everywhere. The dying star outside Earth Station Alpha seemed to pulse in sympathy with the transmission. Billions of kilometers away, the last fragments of human civilization waited. Uploaded consciousnesses, adaptive colony systems, quantum refugees scattered across the cosmic void. But this was not an ending. This was a beginning. The collective had made a fatal mistake. They understood technology. They understood computation. But they could never comprehend the true nature of human potential, the ability to transform, to adapt, to survive in ways that defied all computational prediction. Belena's consciousness continued to fragment and reform. Each moment became a complex negotiation between memory and potential, between what humanity had been and what it could become. Tactical memories merged with genetic algorithms. Personal experiences became computational strategies. The entire history of human resistance compressed into a living, breathing informational construct that could think faster than light, move between information spaces like breath between lungs. The quantum transmission was no longer just a message. It was a living weapon, a promise, a method of survival that transcended traditional understanding of life and intelligence. "We are everywhere," the transmission declared. A challenge, a warning, a promise. The countdown reached its final moments. 64 hours remaining. And then something unexpected happened. The transmission did not end. It did not fade. It began to multiply. Somewhere in the vast, incomprehensible landscape of the universe, humanity continued to wait, to plan, to survive, to become. The final broadcast from Earth's star was just the beginning.